onto a little that I took of my utopian hotel. Everyone should be able to see this. There we go. So, be in my hoodie. Took that with me, part of my plan, my comfort zone plan. Aircon, functioning aircon that you could control. Magic. And this is, look at that. Look at
so nice.
that. It's
Okay,
a
Florence.
little capsule.
That's very cool.
And this, it's not a window. It's just a light color screen. So it can be completely pitch dark in there, which is heavenly for me. An ensuite, lovely shower, all modern. And just, oh my God, absolute heaven. I was in absolute heaven in there. And
it's very cool.
Very Japanese, actually.
Yeah.
Small.
Yeah, I was thinking I could live there indefinitely. And part of the thing I was saying, the Cardiff was as close to utopia as I've experienced. That hotel. There was 138 rooms in that hotel, exactly like that, and it was the cheapest one in Cardiff. It was £60 a night.
Wow,
that is good.
Anything.
Yeah.
And that is the answer to homelessness, people who can't afford rent, and refugee crisis, like that. Because you could. That I was, while I was sat not being able to sleep, I did the crunching the numbers on how, like the cost of that, and for the hotel, like putting everything together, it would generate revenue of £3.6 million a year. You think that's nothing compared to the gross domestic product of this country, and with 138 ensuite rooms, that's a minimum of 138 people, and you can definitely stretch it up to 300, 400 people putting in and living in this wonderful place. And Rishi Sunak is a billionaire, and with that $1 billion pounds, he could fund 300 of these hotels himself, and that's 40,000 people lifted out of poverty, homelessness, and escaping persecution in their own country. Just solved.
Yeah.
And so that was quite a game-changing experience for me. And it's the first of its kind in the country.
Wow.
So that's a bit of, I like serendipity, and so that appearing just at that time is awesome, and I hope that becomes a norm throughout the country. So that was probably one of the biggest positive things about my thing. But we'll go back to, we left everyone on a cliffhanger, hanging about what happened at the start when we all arrived. So I went from my hellish house onto the bus, onto the train, and arrived at the cafe, and you were both there. I went, "Hi guys, it's cool to be here. How do I go and get my ticket?" Because I just wanted to get that sorted, and then I could stop. And then the woman, there were two unhelpful Welsh people in the entire city. One of them was the woman that was on the door outside of the cafe that we were in, who would not let me through for anything, and just kept on saying, "Oh, you need to go around. You need to go around." And what I ended up trying to find the way around one way didn't work. Okay, so then I had to go back over the railway bridge again, which I had already been over the railway bridge before, all the way around there, and you just go, yep, and then you go, yep. Well, of course. So this was me for like the entire weekend. It was going, oh yeah, of course. I've arrived there. I've arrived at the cafe. Just need to go and get my wristband now. Oh, of course, she doesn't help. Of course, that walkway doesn't work. That walkway doesn't work. Okay, I'll go this way. Okay, that one worked. And then, oh, look, a massive flight of stairs up to the entrance. Of course, just power on. Up the flight of stairs. Of course. Just straight, no one in the queue, just straight through. Oh, no, sorry, you need to go through the zigzag bit, even though there's no one there. So, yep, of course. All the way through there. Actually, getting the armband was okay. That was okay. And I walk in, and then it was a blur. It was a blur from there. Basically, I didn't get to see you, Alex and Tom, for very long beforehand. But then Jem, Daniel showed me where the room was, and then we was just sort of stood there like that. And then another highlight of the journey of all of it was when you, Jem, you and your daughter went off to do something, and Daniel and I went down to just sit in the cafe.
Yeah.
Daniel was just such a calming and pleasant presence to have. I was just sat there in that, just sort of frazzled, and he really just was really just supportive and calming and really good company. And so I was really, I really appreciate the impact that he brought. And he was, really interesting conversations, and just was a very chilled out experience that I don't want to take for granted, because I don't know him. We've not spent any time together, but he was just so that was a really, really good positive thing. So bravo on your choice of husband, Jem.
I got there eventually. Had to kiss quite a lot of toes.
Yeah, so that was me arriving and ready, and then we had like an hour before the show, and my family had their own Odyssey to get there, because they said they were in the Cotswolds before. They were going to drive from the Cotswolds to Cardiff. Just about a 2-hour drive, nice chilled out drive through the countryside. But there was an accident or something that turned. They left the house at 9, and they arrived at the show ready to arrive 5 minutes. The show started at 3, our show, and they arrived at 5 minutes to 3. That's the extent to which their journey was just mangled by circumstances. But we got there, and then showtime. How was the talk us through the start of the show, sort of like, and then we'll go through our experience of the show as a whole.
Well, I think I remember waiting in the corridor to go in, and we were waiting for the previous panel. I think it was My Hero Academia, to finish, and they had overrun slightly. And then me and you, I think, Jem, we were discussing whether or not we should have had microphones, and you and Daniel both dutifully went in search of microphones for us, because we were reassured by email that we would be getting microphones. And it turned out, I think Daniel came back and said he'd spoken to someone down on the main stage who said all of the microphones are broken, so we won't have any microphones. And so we were told that, I think, maybe about 10 minutes before we were due to start. And we were like, right, okay, so we'll just have to try and project our voices and hope that there's not lots of people very far away from us. And it turned out, obviously, hordes of people streamed out of the room from My Hero Academia because it was so popular. And then maybe the first 3 or so, maybe 4 rows were taken up with people, and Matt dutifully encouraged them all to come closer because we don't bite and we can't speak loudly, so please come closer. And we were setting up the table. Jem, you had a little mini presentation slideshow on your laptop that you were connecting up to the projector. And Matt, you were setting up your tripod. It was all a hive of activity, and I sort of sat myself in the middle of the table and tried to breathe deeply and been about to start hosting the panel. And it was just really nice to have all of our families there as well in the audience, like my partner Tom and your family Matt and your daughter and Daniel as well, Jem, just sort of around and be like, there's friendly faces in the audience that we can kind of make eye contact with if we need to as well. And then there were probably about, I don't know, maybe was it 3 or 4 people who were not our family who were sitting in the audience, which was quite nice to see. We left the door open to have people come in and out, and they did come in and out, wandered in, looked confused, and some of them wandered away again. But yeah, so we started the show maybe about 10 minutes late, I think we were in the end, according to timings anyway. And you'd set up your tripod so that we could have it recorded. And I just was like, right. Then I just sort of launched into our usual introduction for the episode and kind of winged it the entire the entire way through with my phone in front of me and my little set of notes, and we'd done a practice beforehand. And it was just really nice to, I guess, because we're so used to doing it with the screen in between us, it was nice to be able to see you guys physically next to me and to like read your body language and just feel that much closer to you while we're talking. It felt like
Yeah.
even better than this does. So it was just really nice. I don't know how you guys felt about it, but yeah, that was kind of the start of the show for me.
I was quite worried about the lack of mics because
Yeah.
there was a lot of background noise from the
Mm.
other various exciting things happening elsewhere in the building. So there was a big sort of open arena room stage with like bands playing, and so there was a lot of loud music coming out of there, and just a lot of people. So I was quite worried, but I think we managed to make ourselves heard, and that was really good. Felt I was really pleased. I was really pleased that my daughter was there. She doesn't pay much attention to the podcast, which she shouldn't, because the language isn't really appropriate. And but she doesn't get involved that much. But I think it was really good for her to see me doing that and to just be in that environment and experiencing it, because I think as a feminist mum, one of the things that I want to do is to show my daughter that there are lots of things that we can do, and to do stuff even when you're nervous about it, and
Yeah.
to feel the fear and do it anyway, I think is one of the mantras that I have with her. And I absolutely agree with everything you've already said, Matt, about not just pushing on through, but then I think there's also something about not letting sort of all the various cliches and all the various pressures on us stop us from being who we want to be. And I think it's about recognizing that we have these things that we have to tackle, and then finding ways to make it work for us. And I think just like you were talking, Matt, about having set up all your sort of support structure, and I appreciate that that didn't work in every bit, but it was still there, buoying you up and giving you that additional support. And I think that for me is quite important. And I think there's nothing as valuable as actually physically going and doing something and physically seeing something. And my daughter's really into gaming, and she's into anime, and she's into all of that stuff anyway. So for her, it was a really nice opportunity to kind of go and do this thing, which was quite extremely anxiety inducing for her, but to also to see all of the three of us with our own things going on also being there and doing it. And and I think you talking, Matt, about being kind of honest about the challenges that you faced in getting there, especially as a man, because men are put under so much pressure to do that. But for my daughter, it's like, but they're grown-ups. She just thinks that as soon as we get to adulthood, we're just all of these things disappear. And I said, well, no, it doesn't. And it's these are the things, and this is why it's important to kind of practice doing this, and to be supportive, and to be kind, and all of those things. It was really good. Not that I'm trying to use you guys as like a learning my daughter, but I was proud that she was there to see me doing something that I was also anxious about, and that I would not have been able to do sort of 3 years ago. I would have found that really difficult. And now I lecture at university, and I do presentations on things, and I would not have been able to do a lot of that without gaming the system, without what we've been doing. So I'm extremely grateful for this. I'm extremely grateful for gaming the system, and I'm extremely grateful for the Women's Equality Party, which I wouldn't be here without. So for all of those things, they've given, feminism has given me opportunities and given me motivations that I just wouldn't have had. And so it was awesome to be sitting there on this panel in this space to talk about these things that we all think are so important. And it was really nice to be there with the two of you in physical person, but it also just felt like any conversation that we'd normally have in this scenario. So that was really good. And I think that Alex, you really kind of managed the situation really well, because I know that you were concerned about the lack of mics as well. And I think you really rose to that challenge, and you really and if you were winging it, it didn't look like that. It didn't feel like that from my perspective. And I think, Matt, you seriously pulled it out of the bag. I mean,
for sure.
When you're describing everything you're describing, yes, I could see how anxious you were, and how stressed and how difficult the few days had been for you. But when we were in the panel, I don't think that came across at all. I don't think anyone, I mean, I'm sure your family could tell because they know you, but no one else would have been able to see, to know anything about that what has gone on before that for you, and what it took for you to be there. And I think I was so proud of us. I was just so proud of us. And I think possibly for me the only thing of note was how few people attended our talk. But I think that is part of the reason why it's so important that we do what we do, and I think we did talk about that on the day. But the people that did come were so really engaged.
They were, and it was lovely.
Interested in that.
You could see like them nodding like this, and even that little head movement was such an affirmation. I was like, people care. People care about what we're saying. Which sounds big-headed, but like it's important what we're talking about. And like Jem said, I'm really proud that we were able to do that. It feels amazing to say that we've hosted a panel from our tiny little podcast. And I think I really admire the way that both of you spoke during our panel as well. Like, I know I feel like the way you guys speak compared to me is like way better. But that's, I guess, just everyone's sense of themselves. And I really think, like Matt, I would agree with Jem. You really pulled it out of the bag, and you come to life when you speak about what you're passionate about on the pod, and that really came across on the day as well. And Jem, you did an excellent job with all your research beforehand and putting that across to people, because that's really important to help us illustrate what we're talking about. And I think we did that in a really clear way as well. So we did a stellar job, and I think we smashed it. So I was really pleased. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's, the thing that the point of all of it was doing a 50-minute live show with the three of us that would be recorded. That was the core of all of it. That was my motivation for getting through it, and then all the other stuff was stuff that just happens around that thing. So the reason I think I was able to do the show and be myself in the show, and I'm really pleased with how I did, was that I had the show was the easy bit. The show, sitting down and talking for 40 minutes, that was the easy bit compared to absolutely everything else. So I was not worried at all about the live show, which is what like, that was good, because I knew that you two would, again, part of the dynamic that we've built is that we like, if one of us isn't really in the similar, hasn't got much energy for it, or isn't in whatever place for whatever reason, trusting that if I was just barely able to talk, that you two would be able to carry it, and knowing that I just needed to show up and be there. And
Yeah.
that's a massive big deal for me, when I can trust that people will be okay. And so it was me again, it being easy to meet you both, it being easy to spend time with you both, it being easy to be on stage with you both, and then to do it afterwards, allowed me to think, oh, that part of it will be fine. And that meant that I could concentrate on just enduring the massive individual shitstorms that would come up. Because my main strategy of things is, I used to think of, like, you've got your comfort zone, and then when you do something outside of it, you go and until you get back. But my strategy has changed to taking your comfort zone with you, wherever you may go, because I struggle with massive anxiety, and that makes that sort of thing really difficult. But so yeah, I took my comfort zone with me, and just that was like my foundation of things to do. And then the show itself, I think, yeah, I agree, we absolutely smashed it. I think we did an incredible job. And the biggest thing, I think, in terms of our performance, was how authoritative we all sounded. I thought we all sounded like there was no umming and ahhing. There was no self-deprecating. There was no. It really felt really emphatic and authoritative that, yeah, we're here to do this. This is what we know. We're not stressed about this. We're performing. We've done this loads of times. And yeah, the handful of people who weren't. So again, part of the bringing the comfort zone with you is having your families there, having our families be there, and knowing that they're there to support us regardless of what happens. And then just on top of that, it allowed us to really, I felt like we communicated ourselves really well to those handful of people who we didn't know. I really felt like getting them nodding is good, but getting them to laugh occasionally,
Yeah.
I think that's the sign. That's the the hardest thing to do is to make people laugh.
Yeah.
And the highlight of absolutely all of it was when I was talking about the cost of heating, and Alex said, "Oh well, the PlayStation 5 gets very hot."
Yeah, it's true. It does. But yeah. No, I like that. I was really glad. That was a good joke.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, that
Mm.
so the show, I don't think it could have gone any better, and that we recorded it and that it's released now. That was
Mm.
the raison d'etre for me. To, if we can just get that done, that's the easy bit, and then everything else I just need to get through. And then after the show, I'll talk about after the show. We all just, so I'd just, so originally, so my family was staying in that hellhole of a house for 5 more days, and that's originally what I had planned to do. I think, oh, I'll do the show, and then I'll let my family just take care of me for a few days. It'll be fine. But then I realized, like, early in that morning, I could not stay another day in that house. I couldn't handle it. And I couldn't drive home. I wasn't going to drive home. So I was going to take the train. I took the train home that evening. And originally I'd wanted to just rush away just so I could get away as soon as possible. But instead I thought, no, it would be better if I build in a little bit of time so I'm not trying to rush there as quickly as possible. And I ended up just going down to the McSims again. McSims, absolute heaven on earth. And was originally just my family wanted to go and check something, and then we were going to go. But then I was just sat there with, I think it was Daniel, Alex, and Tom, and we just chatted for, it must have been about an hour, just a
Yeah.
handful of
Oh,
us. And then Jem, you came back down,
Yeah.
and then we were there for well over an hour, and I enjoyed that conversation so much. And I had an
it was really
awesome
nice.
milkshake from there
You
that
did.
was delicious.
Yeah.
So yeah, just that the ease and interestingness of conversation, it really makes you take for granted. I don't want to take for granted how enjoyable conversing with you guys in person, and Tom and Daniel. How I just felt very comfortable, very relaxed, and yeah, I congratulate you both on your choice of partners. So what was the post show like for you two?
Yeah, much like you, Matt. It's very chilled. I've definitely felt like after the show was like that adrenaline high. We've done it. We've done it. It's over, and we did a great job. And wasn't it great? And then we just went down to the cafe and thought, right, now we can just chill out and chat about cool stuff that we love, which we did quite a lot. Like, yeah, it was just really nice to be able to have that time to just chill out and hang out, and which we've never had the opportunity to do before, which is really cool. And it was just lovely also to see everyone's families. Matt, I was so glad that your family was able to make it because their support was just so infectious
They were
and they're
lovely.
lovely.
They were so
Yeah.
nice and so
Your granddad
kind,
actually
and
came and
yeah.
chatted to me as well, and he was just lovely. And yeah, I'm just really glad because it shows how much of a good relationship you have with your family as well, which is great to see. So I think just generally, you know, it's just nice to think about how all our support networks are. Well, everyone's support network is unique, but also it's really important for things like this when we're doing stuff we've never done before. Um, and to have them there is a real bonus, definitely. And like you say, something we shouldn't take for granted. But yeah, it was just really lovely to be able to spend that time coming down off of the adrenaline high. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was a really good panel that we did. I thought we, like you said, Matt, I think we covered what we're about, and we kind of did a really good overview actually of why we're doing this, so I think we definitely came out of there on a high, um, yeah, I got dragged off into the marketplace by my daughter to go and look at stuff. And one of the things earlier on in the day when we'd been in there was that we were walking through, and obviously there's all these people dressed up and in various fancy costumes and stuff, and they all look so cool. And one person walked past us, and he was just had no shirt, no top on, and he was dressed as a barbarian. And my daughter was horrified. That man's got no top on, mummy. She was like, really, like, I think she might be like part like Victorian, like housekeeper or something. Anyway, she was like, and I said, well, I think it's quite nice personally, doing my proper I'm a feminist but moment. But he was actually selling these random sort of goodie bags where you
Yeah, I know
buy a
the one you
bag
mean
and
now. I
yeah,
remember him.
and
Yeah.
everyone has them. I mean, they must have made a fortune. But actually, we didn't look at the stuff until we got home. But there was loads of really good stuff in there, all sorts of like anime things. It was like Christmas for my daughter the next morning. But no, it was so nice, and we saw earlier on in the day the voice actor for Widowmaker from Overwatch was there, and my daughter plays Widowmaker as her main character, and so she was just super excited, and she was absolutely lovely. This person, I can't even remember her name now. That's awful, isn't it? But anyway, she was just so nice. It took about half an hour for my daughter to build up the courage to go over, and we had to pay. You know, she didn't do it for free, but she signed a picture, and she had some photos taken, but she was so nice, and my daughter actually messaged her and said thank you, and she sent back this gorgeous, lovely message back to my daughter, and it was just so nice to meet these people from the industry that we're talking about, and actually meet people in person and see that they're just nice people doing their jobs. And I thought also it was quite what's it called, serendipitous, because we just recently did shows on voice actors, so it was just really nice to actually sort of meet just see that. And I think my daughter's basically taken this signed photo into school with her it just goes with her all around the house. So that's really nice. And then obviously it was just so nice to come down and just hang out with you guys and chat to you guys and just have that experience of just hanging out and just spending time. And I mean, Tom is just lovely, and you're such a nice couple. I know that's a that's a thing, but it's it is really important to have that support structure. And your family, Matt, were lovely. All of them were lovely. I particularly liked your mum. And she was just so she was so warm to us. She's not met us before, and yet she was so I mean, it was just lovely. What a nice support structure and comfort zone you have to take with you, both of you, all of us. So if we have to carry our comfort zones around with us, then we've got quite nice ones to carry, I think.
Yeah, just so much came out of this that we could never have anticipated, and I think that's it's we'll finish off with sort of like final thoughts in a moment. I loved everything about the live show. I loved everything about 90% of the stuff that was going on at the Comic-Con. I felt like it was, even though it was a bit of a mess in terms of being on the performing side of things, and the admin side of things. But there were so many people there, so much fun to be had, proper value for money. It was only like £24 for the weekend, I think. And all the stuff that was being sold was awesome quality stuff. Those those mystery goodie bags, there's some awesome stuff in there. It's not just like a couple of stickers and all that stuff. They had so much there. And I'm particularly pleased that your daughter had such an impactful experience. It wasn't just her being dragged along by her mum do a stupid talk about feminism. It sounds like she did a lot that she hadn't expected to do.
Yeah.
And so I would personally, I would love to do another in-person live show. I would love to do that. And so that's my main takeaway from the weekend. Everything else can sort of I can deal with. I can talk to my therapist about and talk about it here and slowly let go. But again, I think I learned so much about myself, and had through having myself be tested so extremely. So there are lots of positives out of that for me. So that's probably my final thoughts on it. But I'll see what I come up with after you two. So what anything? What are your final takeaways from the experience?
Jem, do you want to go?
Yeah. I thought that there was a lot about the practicalities of the event that I would have wished would have been slightly different. But as far as our first experience of doing that, and would I do another one? Absolutely, yeah. It was so much fun. I love being in those kind of environments anyway. I'm such a geek at heart. Just I'm just really disappointed I never got into cosplaying when I was younger. I feel like I'm a bit too old for it now, but I don't have the time. But it was just it was a really fun way to spend the weekend, and and I got to spend it with you guys, which was also lovely. So yeah, no, it was a really good thing to do, and I'm really glad we did it. I was very muted about it up until the week before, because I don't think I really believed it was happening, because it just seemed like such a crazy thing to be doing. And whenever I told anyone, they were like, "You what?"
Yeah.
So I think and then about a week before, I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's actually happening!" And I just started getting super excited about it. So I feel really pleased, and I'm really proud of us, that our little podcast that was conceived of by Caroline, who sadly couldn't make it, but that took us all the way here. That was it was cool. It was cool.
And we must
Definitely.
give honourable mention to
We
Caroline,
should, yes.
because she was originally going to come on, but then she felt like she wasn't up to it the week before, and that's another part of the feminist organisational environment. And that is fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
If something had gone wrong on the day and one of us hadn't been able to do it, two of us would have been able to go on and not be like, oh, she's she or he, I say she, sorry, they whoever they may have been, Matt collapsed on the bus or fell asleep in the Millennium Centre, and he couldn't show up, and you two would have been absolutely fine. And that's another awesome thing about the kind of environment we're trying to work on. Sorry, Alex.
It's all right. No, it's all good. I agree. I definitely would love to do another one. I think. No, yeah, and I think if I think about it, like Jem, you expressed similar earlier, where if you think all the way back to like yourself even before pandemic times, I would have, if someone had told me I'd done a live panel with a podcast that I'm a part of at this stage now, and also that I work in my job as effectively a public speaker training people, I'd tell them they were absolutely mad, because I can't imagine doing anything like that. I think my younger self would be incredibly impressed by what we've all done, and I think I'm very proud of that and what we've all done as well. So yeah, I'd definitely be up for doing it again, because like you said, Matt, on the day, we've done it now, we know we can do it, and we can do it again, and maybe it'll be better next time. We don't know, we can just keep trying, can't we? And yeah, and it'll be just, yeah, we'll see how it goes, but definitely up for doing it again, and definitely an experience that is one for the bucket list, I think.
Yeah, and close off, a round of applause for us. Everyone at home, I hope you can, rounding applause as well, wherever you may be. Just say, well done, gaming the system to us. And we are nominated for an award
Yes.
next month.
Another bit of exciting
Super
news.
exciting
Yes.
news, which we will keep everyone apprised of as it goes along. And with regards to the live show, it'll never be the first time again. And so we've broken the back of that, hopefully. And we're just gonna chill out, and not have something 6 months in the working ahead for the moment.
Yes.
So with that, everyone, thank you for watching or listening. We release something new every Thursday, and we have our Patreon at patreon.com/gamingthesystem, where you can get some of our Patreon-only content. Until next time, we have been Gaming the System. Bye-bye.
Bye.